So what we have before us here is a continuing saga, the Jewish people, working through the what we call the Middle Ages. And this is the Atlas of Medieval Jewish History by Dr. HAIM BEINART. His interest is really, really tremendous, and his history is beyond anything that I've seen. Here we have, before we get into actually the narrative of Dr. BEINART, we're going to talk about the Jewish communities of Italy, and I'm going to try to make it so that this can be seen. This is the map of Italy at the time of, I would guess you would say, between the 15th and the 16th century, perhaps a little bit before that. Italy was not one country like it is today. It was divided up into, let's go down to the very bottom. Let me see if I can get this up where you can see it, and perhaps you can magnify it on your own computers. Have to be careful with this camera so it doesn't cut out. So let's say it's still going okay. Down here we have Sicily. We're gonna zoom in, and we're gonna see some of the more detailed aspects of what was going on. Then we're going to read the narrative if we could have time in this share today. So here you have Sicily. At this time, Sicily belonged to Spain. So Spain, what we're calling it at this time, like this is the year, for example, 1489. 1489 is 3 years before the expulsion, and you're dealing with the time of tremendous church agitation, anti-Semitism directed at Jews. And remember that the Jews are not armed. We can't protect ourselves. And so therefore we're constantly at the mercy of the governments. In this case, the southern part of Italy is Sicily and some islands around Sicily. Then you go past Sicily, and you get into the kingdom of Naples. This is Napoli, right? And here's Naples down here, the port of Naples. But this is a whole kingdom that revolved around it. All of these places have different, what would you say, different rules, different countries, different press dialects. I'm not sure about that, but they had different attitudes towards us. So in the middle, let me see, where is Rome? Here's Rome. So after the kingdom of Naples, you have what's Rome, and then the Papal States. Here, can you see this right here, which says the Papal States? These are different states that refer to the center of Rome, which is the church. Okay, then after that, we come up here on the top, and we see that there is a kingdom here, goes all the way through this area, called the Kingdom of Venice, the Republic of Venice, Repubblica di Venezia. That's how they say it. Ragusa, all of these different places in Venice. Now today, this is part of, I don't know, Serbia, Yugoslavia, or that area, the Slavic area. But at that time, Venice was a very prosperous, a very powerful kingdom that was in the northern part of Italy. Here you have a little Republic of Genoa. Genoa is another port area, and a lot of Jews resided in those areas. Let's go down a little bit more. And we have Corsica, which belongs to the kingdom of Genoa, and Sardinia, which belongs to Sicily or belonged to Spain. And this is the status of what the world looked like in Italy at between, like I say, between the 15th and the possibly the 17th centuries. Let's zoom down. This is not exactly a zoom. So let's get closer where we can look at some of this, and let me see how there's a little bit of a glare here. But what can I do? Okay, the number one. In the year 1416, like I say, this is the beginning of the 15th centuries, rabbis and community leaders authorized the Roman Jewish community, which is down below, which is over here. Right? He says, going back to it, he says, the Roman Jewish community to represent and defend Jewish rights at papal court. In other words, the Pope is in charge of that area around Rome, and so therefore he needs to be dealt with. Again, Jews are not an army. What we have is possibly we make a good living, and maybe if possible, we can buy off some of this hatred. So now he says number 2, in May 1418, the Council of Deputies decided to send delegation to the new Pope Martin V. Okay, no problem. That's what's going on. Now in this area, which I'm not sure exactly what I could say, it's not the Republic of Genoa, but it's another area of multiple small towns in Italy. In various towns, local rulers allowed Jews to settle, build synagogues, and engage in banking. Jews used money to stay alive. Now here we go down a little bit further. Pope I guess it's Eugenius IV signs contract with Rome's Jewish community, guaranteeing rights of Italian Jews in return for annual payment 1,130 gold ounces. Okay, you could buy autonomy, buy some freedom there. Let's find number 5. I see number 6. Number 5. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here it is up here. Now we're talking about these independent towns. In the years 1463 to 1473, the Jews in this area, which are little towns called Montenegro, that's it, Montenegro, Soncino, Crema, Brescia, and Bergamo, okay, those places. And in that time, Jews were expelled under the influence of a preaching of Friar Bernardino de Fetre. Okay, so this is what happens, that they don't want Jews around, and they're going to make it tough. That's the northern part. Number 6. Let's see if I can get us over here. We could see it. Number 6. Still not there. There. In the year 1488, that's 4 years before the expulsion from Spain, and this is an area which is controlled by Spain. Communities described by Obadiah of Bertinoro. Syracuse. In Syracuse, there were 5,000 Jews. Messina, there were 400 families. Palermo, there were 850 families. Together, about 50 communities. So he's talking about these places here. Is Messina and Syracuse, Palermo, all these different places here. That's the year 1488. Let's move on. 3 years before the expulsion order. 1489, the community representatives bring donations. The governor for Granada War. In other words, the Jews are contributing to the war of Ferdinand and Isabella against the Moors, the Muslims. They call them moros in Spanish. Community representatives bring donations. The governor for Granada War expenses. King Ferdinand vows to protect the Jews from the mob. What mob? The mobs are coming. Number 8. In 18 June 1492. Now we know that the expulsion order for Jews to leave Spain, and Sicily at that time was part of Spain. Edict of expulsion of Sicilian Jews is published. After payment made, Jews granted postponement till January 12, 1493. But it does come around. And here we see he has a map here to give us an idea. Let's take this sort of, he says Termini, or the area around Palermo. He says that area, here you see all the paths that Jews took to get out. They went by sea over to the Kingdom of Naples. They went by sea in a different area of Naples, but Naples is a very welcoming place. And they went to Napoli, into Naples. If I know you could see all of this, if I got it exactly where you could see it. But here you see they came all the way over here and set up, and in Napoli also. Now I'm going to come over here and go through some of the drawings that he has on this page. Here we have, I don't have anything to back this up right now, but this is violent attacks against the conversos of Cordoba. This is not pronounced Cordoba, it's pronounced Cordoba. In the year 1473. The great cathedral, formerly a mosque, this is all part of the pattern in all of these different places where you see these are attacks against the Jews, against people who were actually forcibly converted to Judaism, to Catholicism, and then they considered to be lapsed, and they were causing trouble because they were Jews, and the hatred of the Jews was enormous. The Israelites battled with Amalek. This is an old drawing from a manuscript of Moses Arangel, Spanish translation of the Bible from 1422, 1433, something that we could see that we have existent. And here's another one right here. This is illustration from a Hebrew illuminated manuscript, Arbiturum, by the Arbiturum, which is actually a book of laws, by Yaakov ben Asher, Mantua, Italy, 1435. Just to get you some ideas about the time that we're talking about, let's come over here and let's look at the Jewish communities in Italy from the 14th to the 16th centuries. The distribution of Jews in Italy underwent a change after the Black Death, beginning with emigration from the south and the arrival in northern Italy of Jews, some of whom had been expelled from Germany. So Jews are getting bounced around bad, and it's not good. Communities were founded where previously there had been none. The changing political climate in the Italian peninsula also created favorable conditions for Jewish settlement. Jewish loan bankers gave great impetus to Jewish settlement in northern Italy and greatly assisted in the development of town and rural centers. Settlement was facilitated by the founders of banks receiving a condotta, a privilege, for a period of time adequate for the establishment of the Jewish community. So therefore these people who used money also built their communities. Among the popes who reigned at the end of the 14th century was Urban V, 1362 to 1370, who issued a bull of protection for the Jews, as Boniface the Ninth, 1389 to 1404, after him. The anti-pope Benedict the 13th, 1394 to 1417, was extremely hostile towards the Jews, his animosity reaching its peak during the disputation of Tortosa, which took place in 1413-1414 in Spain. He was deposed in 1417. His successor Martin V, 1417 to 1431, issued two bulls favorable to the Jews, and also attempted to restrain the anti-Jewish agitation of the Franciscan friars, good old Franciscan friars. Other popes were either indifferent to the Jews or assisted in their persecution. Now here's a name that's difficult to pronounce. Calixtus III, also known as Alfonso de Borgia, from 1455 to 1458, the Spanish Pope, showed his disdain for Judaism when he intentionally dropped a Torah scroll given him by the Jews of Rome at his election. Another pope, Sixtus IV, from 1471 to 1484, was instrumental in establishing the National Spanish Jewish Inquisition, and in 1475, a papal court of inquiry justified the Trent libel, which the Pope endorsed in a bull of 1478. Now, all of these are tremendously anti-Jewish acts. They are very dangerous. Now, let me see if I can adjust this a little bit like this, and maybe that'll help me. So, now, we're going back to Rodrigo. Rodrigo Borgia, later elected as Pope Alexander VI, 1492, which is the era of the expulsion from Spain, and we see also Sicily, 1492 to 1503, had a considerable influence upon late 15th century popes, while he held the post of vice chancellor of the papal curia. All of these different kinds of names and so on and so forth. Well, a Jewish boy from me, like me, doesn't really know. The expulsion from Spain also caused changes in Italy, particularly in the territories under Aragonese rule. Sicily, Sicilia, Sardinia, and southern Italy, since Jews were also expelled from these territories. Until the end of April 1492, no expulsion order to that of Spain had been published. Furthermore, on 23rd May, the municipality of Palermo, which we noted before, declared that it was forbidden to harm the Jews. However, on 9 June, the 9th day of June, Ferdinand, and Isabella forbade emigration from Sicily and the transfer of money to the Ottoman Empire. Now let's see this again. He said that you couldn't leave. You couldn't emigrate from Sicily, and for one thing for sure, you couldn't take your money out. Jews were obliged to prepare an inventory of their possessions and deposit their bills of exchange with notaries. On 18 June, the expulsion order was published, causing a wave of protest. On 20 June, the citizens of Messina warned the king of the harm that would be done to the city if the Jews left. Palermo argued that the exodus of Jewish craftsmen would affect arms and agricultural supplies. At the request of the Jews, the governor issued an order for their protection, continuing to protect them even though he was compelled to rescind the order. So he rescinded the order, but he still protected them. I don't know. The Jews succeeded in postponing the expulsion until 12 January 1493. In the interim period, there were continuous attempts to persuade the crown to rescind the order. Fernando, however, insisted that all Jews had to leave, including those of Malta and Sardinia. About 40,000 Jews left Sicily alone. The numbers expelled from Sardinia were comparatively small. Pope Alexander VI did not prevent the refugees from residing in districts of the Papal States. Others went to the Ottoman-dominated Balkans, and still others to the Kingdom of Napoli, where refugees from Spain had arrived. In 1503, the Kingdom of Napoli, was won by the Spanish. So this is an area constantly at war, and the Spanish are powerful. Remember the armada that set out for England in the year 1588. And one has to remember, while this is happening to the Jews in Spain, the Spanish had discovered the New World. They had brought gold back from the New World, and there was a tremendous interest in grabbing that gold. The Spanish crown is growing and becoming more and more powerful and prosperous, and the Jews are being expelled. The Jews are pushed down. Their money is taken away from them. In November of 1510, an order was issued for the expulsion of the Jews, the date of implementation being fixed by the end of March 1511. By this order, the Jews were, let's get back up here, forbidden ever to return. The expulsion order enabled the conversos of Apulia and Calabria, and those who were tried and condemned in absentia by the Inquisition, to put their affairs in order and leave the kingdom within a few months. So you had people who were going to be killed or burnt at the stake by them, but they managed to get out because everybody had to get out, I guess. They were allowed to take all their movable possessions other than gold and silver. So if you can find money in something else, well, good luck. Despite the edict, 200 families were allowed to remain on condition that they annually paid the 3,000 ducats to the crown. Most of the Jews left the kingdom, and in 1541, a total expulsion was ordered, which included the conversos. Now, once again, the problem of the conversos. The conversos are people mostly who were forced to convert to Catholicism. You can imagine, just what would happen. I live in a Jewish community. If we were surrounded by soldiers, we have no weapons, and we have one thing that we can do, and that's it, either your life or conversion. Now, in Ashkenaz world, as we know from history, other things happened. They died. They committed suicide. They exposed their necks to the sword. Over here, people buying time, trying to buy time, people forced to be converted, and those are a whole category. It's called the New Christians, a whole category of pain. This is Baruch Fleischman. You've been listening to the words of Dr. HAIM BEINART, a tremendous, tremendous scholar of Jewish history. And in fact, we do survive.